I always imagine dark. It always makes me think of a closed space. Even at night time, you just seem more closed in, I think. You know, you were saying, what's that effect that you get of the sky being like a dome?
Celestial vaulting.
Yeah. Even then, you think of it as a closed space. I think so anyway. And you feel everything is a bit more like your senses are, your other senses are heightened.
I would rather be in darkness, in a space that was completely dark, because space that you were surrounded, like if the space was just too bright, it would be so overpowering. And in darkness you can kind of be peaceful, and you can be on your own, in your own head, and you don't have any distractions, whereas lots of light can actually hurt you, can't it? Like blind you.
I like darkness. I have no qualms with it. I think I'm just generally quite light sensitive. I prefer dark. Not necessarily working, just the light effects. I find dark a lot more. I don't know, not easy, just maybe even comforting.
I find, okay, going on what she said, the clinical bright white is just horrible. But darkness is interesting because, I mean, if you think of, you can be in very, 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 very bright light, but you can't be in complete darkness and see anything.
So if it was dark, I'd be happy.
Darkness has different effects on me. Yeah. Sometimes I find it really exciting stepping out onto, it's not completely dark, but when it's dark outside. Say like stepping out of your house to go for a walk in the city can be really exciting. It feels really like, in the countryside it can feel really, really scary because you don't know where anything is.
That area of just being incredibly dark, getting darker when the night gets darker and darker and darker, that is my favourite time. And it's just the nice idea to think of when maybe even 100 years ago when there wasn't man-made lights, because when you're out wherever you are, even if you're in the sort of a local rural town, there's always going to be those sort of street lamps, and that's always going to give a fair bit of light. But before then it would have been nice to see how much light just the stars or just the moon gives to sort of light up the landscape if it does. And that sort of bridge between light and dark there. But yeah, obviously now in town you get so much light, it's almost like it just being dusk all night instead of it being blackness at sort of 12, 3 in the morning.
Yeah, I don't feel uncomfortable whatsoever. I'm not afraid of the dark at all. I don't know. It's what I associate nice lighting with, is the summer, and I know you can do that with darkness as well. You know, I'm particularly thinking of summer at night. It's very, very relaxing and nice, especially when you're with a group of friends. But I don't know. I think it's just like light has always been associated with good. It's kind of like the birth of something, isn't it? Darkness is the opposite.
I don't really know, because I don't really like being surrounded by light, but I kind of both love and hate being surrounded by darkness. Because when I was younger, I used to absolutely love going in the dark. I really liked it, but one time when I was outside, when I was really young, I might have only been about like 7 or something, my sister was being really mean, and she told me like there were like lions and wolves and things like in the darkness, like in our garden there's like this big oak tree in the corner, and she was saying like about them hiding behind the tree waiting to get me and stuff. I don't know why she did it.
Well, when I'm in my room, I don't like to have like the light on, like the big light on. I always just have my lamp on, like and that makes me feel like I don't know if it's calmer or it's not quite so oppressive. So that's probably like a midway. I wouldn't say that I was particularly scared of the dark though. But I guess there's obviously times when you're always like, I don't know, if there's a noise or something, then you instantly become more scared of the dark. And then I think the dark always makes things that bit more scary. But I wouldn't say that I was like scared of the dark in general.
But at night, I can't sleep with light. So to be totally submerged in darkness is very comforting for me. And I don't mind walking in the dark. I don't feel about accidents, yes, I need a light, but I actually don't mind walking in complete darkness.
Indoors, I think in the dark, if you're outside in the dark, it's very different to being indoors in the dark. Because you're sort of within that sort of outdoors, you're exposed in a way, rather than being enveloped by it, you're sort of within the darkness, whereas if you're inside, does that make sense? It's a bit more of an enclosed environment, and then you sort of, you're not at risk, I don't know. Good place in the dark. When you're all cozied up in bed, and you've got like almost a weight of your blankets, almost like a weight of the darkness around you, and you're sort of enjoying not seeing anything. You're sort of in your own world, sort of just cocooned there. Yeah. I sleep in a nest, pretty much, a blanket, so that's all.
Obviously, there are other things, and then like as you get older, like you hear things about like horrible people and stuff. So I've kind of become very kind of paranoid about the darkness and people being there.
Okay. Well, I remember walking home the other night. This is just my thought of it, and it was pitch black. And instead of being frightened that someone would come out in the alleyway, I was quite happy in the alleyway because nobody could see me, and I thought I could just stay here and no one would know that I was here. So I think that maybe I'm happiest in dark places. I think I prefer being in darkness.
Right now it'd be dark. Right now I want to be immersed in darkness, but if you ask me in a week it might be light. That's such a hard question, because it completely depends on your state of mind and how you feel at that moment. Because I'm scared of the dark, but I do like the thrill of being in the dark sometimes. But to be immersed in one, and I guess to think about being immersed in light, you think of enlightenment, because then that's kind of being in this blank white space with nothing else but the light.
Well, I always imagine light in terms of contrasting with dark, like my work does. I don't sort of think of, the only time I sort of think of light is when I think of something entirely white, but that doesn't seem like, I don't know, I like both sides of it. Both highlight one another, I suppose. Like chiaroscuro, that's what I like.
As a metaphor, I would probably say that light and dark, technically symbolic of life and death, and having like just complete opposite. Like everything in the world has opposites, so that's how I think of it. Life and death, light and dark, pain and like joy, like.
I don't know, because obviously I just view it as a kind of scientific, like as just something that I do believe that they are what they are, like both light and dark, but it depends what context.
I think it's more that I just don't generally have an opinion on it. To me, light and dark just becomes an object rather than a space or an image rather than a sort of scientific or conceptual thing. Not analytical, just sort of in terms of it's reduced to space and it's coming from this place or it's forced made by this.
I wouldn't say I feel particularly comfortable immersed in either. So I know like if it's completely dark, like if you're out somewhere at like 2 a.m. and there are no streetlights, I mean, you don't know what's going to come at you, do you? You don't know what's there. And more importantly, I'm clumsy as hell, so I just think I'm going to trip over and injure myself on something. But equally, when it's kind of immersed in light, to use your words, like, you know, kind of peak summer, when the sun's kind of completely up there and it's just bright, and I mean, my eyes don't work when it's that sunny. I just can't see anything. I'm blinded, which luckily we don't get too much in England. But when I've been to France and Italy and Spain, you get this just unbelievably bright sun in the summer, and I suppose, you know, from Devon, I'm not used to the sun, but I can't handle that. So yeah, I can't cope either way.
That's probably something to do with it, the control of having a balance between light and dark, because then it shows that you need both. So to get by in the day, you need light, but for me to sleep at night, I need dark. So being able to control them both has to be there for me. Like, it has to happen.
It makes me really twitchy. I get really like, and then it used to make me feel really anxious as it started to turn dark. I was like, just really, I don't know whether it was about the day being wasted or having to get through the evening, or I don't know what it was.
Definitely. Like when everyone's dancing in a nightclub and then it gets to closing time and then everyone's like, oh God, I look awful, I've been drinking, I've been dancing.
Yeah, you said the house like,
Like, oh God, they've turned the lights on, it's time for us to go.
Well, the light in my attic space, it's all artificial light. There's no skylights up there, it's total darkness. Every time I walk up there, and there's like a sort of a funnel of light coming from the hatch door entrance. I don't know, it's quite dark and very mysterious. Sort of room, my attic space, because that's where I do all my work at home. So I'm quite inspired by the setting, the mood of the environment, and that kind of inspires the paintings, I suppose. Like peering through the nooks and crannies of the space, and just looking into these deeper parts of the room, because it's quite a cluttered attic. There's stuff everywhere, dating back, I don't know, about 20 years. So I don't know. So ever since we moved there, so there's like loads of junk. There's one of those. What are they called? It's quite a yellowy, sort of almost like amber, like I don't know. It's just the way the light kind of just kind of distorts the space almost, because there's also these like the beams up there, in the attic is just holding the structure of the room together. They kind of like they move and distort in a way.
Artificial light from the city can be incredibly beautiful. When we first came back after summer, we went camping, just like on a beach over at Flushing, which is just over the water. So you can look back at Falmouth from inside, but kind of curve. And you see all the lights reflected in the water. And it almost looked like it was on stilts. It looked like the whole town was standing on stilts because of the way the light was reflecting onto the water. But the light sort of made it look like it was all like on a big pier or something. But that was really beautiful. You can sit in a car or walk through a city at night. It can be a different artificial light.
Light, I think. I like sunlight and heat, so I think it's sort of
I'm like a bit of a moth. I like light, yeah, definitely. But then again, I like the dark as well, because the dark can be quite comforting. Light is happiness. to be really cliched about it, it's sort of happy, summer, warmth, just comfort, and it's quite, you sort of want to be, in a way, like you say, enveloped in dark, you kind of want to be enveloped in light, because when you go out in the sun, you sort of go, yes, ooh, you don't hit things over, you sort of bask in it, and sort of, I think it gives people energy, and it gives a bit more, I don't know.
It's lively, yeah.
It's lively, yeah, sort of injects motion.
I really, really like different lights at different times. So for me, sort of morning sunset, when it's almost blinding as it starts really bursting, I love, even though I can't look at it properly because I have to sort of squint a bit, and that is amazing to me. And I love light generally. Like I would have light streaming in from everywhere.
Light is everything. It's just, if there wasn't light then it wouldn't be. I mean, that's just a very obvious point. But Turner famously said on his deathbed, sun is God. And he dealt with the sun incredibly well and with light. And I find it quite difficult to deal with natural light from the sky, from the sun. But I'm very interested in that sort of crux between, like I was saying before, between man-made light and natural light and what the two do together.
And equally, I love the brightest sunshine, but I love reflective light as well, like in winter, when it bounces off snow, for example, and reflective light off water. I absolutely love that because it moves. You know, it seems to just bounce around.
To capture that essence of light and what light does to an atmosphere is something different, and I think that he got very, very, very close to capturing it. And I think he almost, throughout his career, I think he fought with it. I think he really, really had problems with it, and really almost felt overcome by it and defeated by it. But I think he always strived to capture it, and I think that's why he loved it so much. It's
Bright, light, aggressive is a bit harsh, I find, and aggressive, and hurts my eyes to start off with, and generally sort of a bit clinical rather than comforting. Yeah, so I find with light, if it goes too far up the bright scale, then I find it quite claustrophobic. I get a bit aggressive. If it gets into a lit and it's mirrors on each side and really bright like above you, really yuckily claustrophobic.
And things like that happen to me all the time. It's just bright sun. I mean, you can't see a thing when it's out. I come to think it, when I took Winston, my old guinea pig, to a vet to put him down, the sun was really, really bright that day, and it had been raining earlier on. And again, crossing the road to go to a vet, the wet road, bright sun, it was blinding. It was that. Hopefully, that won't stick with me forever. I hope, like, whenever I see bright light shining off a road, I won't just think, "Oh, Winston." But it was, yeah. It reminded me of that, in fact, the other day. Yeah, so bright light can be a bit depressing. It's just unusually bright that day. Do you remember that? Yeah. So.
I find the lights in here really oppressive. I don't really like them. And I think it's such a shame because even when it's a sunny day we have to turn them on because of where the sunshine is in relation to the building. It's always dark in here. So I'm like, oh, I don't want to turn these post lights on.
I don't like darkness, to be honest. I don't know. I feel more comfortable in a dark environment. I don't know. When you're in a room full of people, and one example was in at Jack's exhibition, like the light was quite harsh, I thought, on the whole space, all the people as well. I find that quite. I get quite I don't know what it is about the lighting, but I get quite anxious when I'm around that sort of bright white light. It can be quite distracting, and it almost causes me to step back and just get out. I don't know. I like keeping to myself a lot more than most other people. So I don't know. The light kind of helps, just make me feel more comfortable, I suppose, being in a darker light. Yeah, more. Yeah, a veil, kind of just to almost to kind of keep myself covered or shielded in a way.
I'm sure to another person there would be nothing particularly spectacular about them, but they were very, they were like light fabric. They weren't very thick, and light came through them very softly. It was sort of depending on the temperature and the intensity of the light of the day, you know, the sunlight coming through the curtains. It's hard to really give an accurate description of them, but it was more of the sensation. There was very soft pastel tones in the curtains with these very abstract floral patterns, and it was just light pinks and blues and greens. It was almost like a kaleidoscope of colour. But I can remember seeing the light breaking through the centre of the curtains, the gap where you would open the curtains, and it was just this solid line of light, absolutely pure and bright and brilliant. And I had this sense that if I was to go up to the curtains and open them, if I was to let in that light, that it would be bold and overwhelming and extraordinary. And so I would always go up to the curtain and kind of timidly pull back one of the bits of fabric and expect something extraordinary on the other side, something otherworldly, and it would always be the same street view. But still, even now, I can remember that sensation, that curiosity.
You were talking about the light through the curtains, and I was saying it's really cheesy, but well, no, it's not cheesy. It's just rather scummy. I always get amazing hangovers coming back down to Falmouth because I always end up stopping at my uncle's and drinking far too much beer. But something about public transport, the scummy windows, the dusty on one side, scratched to death on the other. And there's, you know, it's like the stages of depression. There's 4 or 5 stages of hangover. You've gone through the headaches and the grumbling and the sweating and all that sort of stuff. There's a nice bit before the next cycle of pain that everything seems very euphoric, and the light through the fucked up transport window sort of gives a nice sort of glow, and there's lovely music, and you're just a little bit warm from your last horrible sweaty moment, or wave of nausea or whatever.
I still have such a positive association with it. I still remember it with that kind of childlike sense of wonderment. So, yeah. That sort of light is probably the ultimate example for me of, because I saw it in childhood, because it was beautiful then and it's still beautiful now, even in a memory.
Yeah, it's a sense of sort of the sublime and of things connecting and feeling very alive, and a moment where it all lines up and it feels, yeah, it's sublimity, which is really cool. You get it's a nice little phenomenon every now and again. But well, one of the distinct ones is, I don't know, just coming out of Exeter train station, the light off the ocean. But that sort of sense of, I don't know, floating connectedness, like a little womb of a hangover, really foul.
Light is, I think it's not appreciated in perhaps the ways it should be. I think it's often quite ignored. And if I look at a picture, I will look for the light in it. If I want to paint a wall, it'll be something which will reflect light. And I think it's always in my head, it's to lighten and to lift and to brighten.
Particular memory, I guess, would be waking up very, very tired. I say first thing in the morning, but only about 9 o'clock, and doing the trek over in the car to get to the beach, just being surrounded by this light that's so white as well. That's the main thing. It's maybe it's a bit of a lemony, so it is a bleached palette rather than, say, an orange light, which is what I would associate California with.
But when I envision light, I don't really envision like a bright white light. I tend to see like a sunset or something soft. So like when it's nicest to me, it's probably orange or yellow, and it's not white, it's not blinding, it's like soft and kind of gentle light.
There's a real easiness for me. Places that are typically in a warm climate, where the light's very sun bleached. The palette is just so nice. And yeah, I guess that's my kind of idea of kind of perfection in a sense, is being in that light and lightness, as opposed to being in darkness, I guess. But then there's something quite appealing about it being at night time as well, when you are, everything's slowing down at night. It's quite tranquil, and there is an easiness about it, and for me as well. But if I have to compare the two, yes or no answer, it'd have to be, I'd go with light, being my preferred thing over the two.
So I hadn't actually thought about how important that was, but actually it just permeates everything. So that's really fascinating, that it is, for me, it's coming out of darkness into light.
First thing that came to mind is there was a time when I was in Japan on an island in Nara, and we all went skinny dipping at like 4 a.m, and there was four of us girls, and there's deer all over this island, like deer just freely roaming around as if pigeons or seagulls in Falmouth. And then we were all in the water and something was glistening and we couldn't tell what it was. We were like, is it the reflection from the moon? Because the moon was so big and bright. And we realised it was plankton. We think it was plankton, but it was like shining under the sea, so like glitter being sprinkled over the ocean, and it kind of went onto your skin for a bit, and when you held your body underneath you could see it shimmering. That is like the first thing that comes to head when I think of light and alluring a moment.
Yeah, the light kind of highlights the darkness. Obviously you've got to sort out the ratio. There's more dark than light, but yeah. So I suppose light is an opening, like you were saying, like, ideas of like awakening. It just kind of reveals something. Whereas, yeah, I guess ideas of darkness is concealing and light is revealing.